how he did it. The building shape, compact, without all those things protruding and dormers and all that good stuff. Orientation of windows. Now, passive house uses a bigger jump on that. They actually use the windows more directly for heat gain in the wintertime and so forth. So that may be a bigger drop in your load there with orientation of windows. U value of windows using triple glaze, low E windows is a big improvement. The roof and walls. Now again, passive house brings it down even further with their roof and walls. They go one step further on much higher values than even these houses use. But you look here, the heat recovery ventilation, if it's done right and it's an efficient system, can play a significant role. Now, Rudy's a very exacting engineer. So he didn't pick these out of the air. He actually has data and so forth to demonstrate what these drops in these energy loads were over a conventional house. And the HRV, everybody knows what COP is here, I assume. Would a system you can put in your house with a COP of 12 be an attractive thing?
What is COP?
Coefficient of performance. Very simply stated, it's how much energy you put in this case by electricity, to how much energy you get back from it. From that investment in energy, what you get in return. A COP of like a heat pump mini split ducted system has a COP of in the 3 to 3.5 range. Some of the new ones are starting to climb up to 4. In other words, 3 units of electricity and you get, or 1 unit of electricity and you get 3 units of heat back from it. So you're getting much higher. Whereas an oil boiler is the old 1. So that's basically the base you work with. So if you've got a piece of equipment that can give you a COP of 12, that's a pretty good thing. Well, that's what our heat recovery ventilators do. All right. Then he used solar collectors, and you can see 9 square meters of solar collection brought you down this step, and then an additional 25 meters of square meters of solar collection brought you an equivalent down. So the first 9 meters get just as much as an additional 25 meters. So a small panel, what really that worked out to is that small panel was able to heat enough water to keep the house warm on most days. And the extra 25 meters only got you on the real cold days that additional that you needed on cold stretches. All right?
Is one solar electric and the other solar thermal?
No, it's all and solar collectors and storage. 20 cubic meters of hot water storage in the houses. And then wastewater recovery is just your system, and the drain water is heating water, capturing some of the heat on the drain water. The next thing Rudy did was examine what the cost of doing these things was. And of course, building shape oftentimes is actually a negative. That can actually cost less to do it that way. Orientation of windows doesn't cost anything. Just have to make sure your house gets positioned right. U value of windows doesn't add a lot. The walls, and again, when you get into passive house, these can be a little more because you're doing that extra step. And then the ventilation. This is the investment per year in Swiss francs per kilowatt hour per year. So comfort ventilation is not a huge step to get this big drop in energy use. When you get into solar collection, that becomes a pretty big investment.
Orientation of windows to be smaller than I would expect.
Well, it's just a matter of where you position the house. So the cost of doing that is not going to be real. Unless you have to pay off the guy at the building code office or something. So this is all common sense stuff, and you know all this. That, not doing garages like this, doing garages like this is Minergy and passive house. Thermal insulation, air tightness, thermal mass, heat recovery, ventilation, and efficient production of heat, your heating and cooling. And sunshades, which are very rare here, And I think we actually saw they're selling them through the guys over at Quantum, and they have them on display there.
And I would say that's exterior sunshades.
Yes, yeah.
You know, interior
Yeah, not-
sunshades, we got tons of those.
Right.
We just don't have exterior.
This is a radiator, you're competing with us.
But people don't really understand the difference.
Now, once the sun comes in, it's too late. So, but I was amazed. I was in Switzerland up till now. I've been with the company since 2001, and I've been to Switzerland a number of times, but always it was in the winter, March, you know. And this year I went in June, and walking down the street in Zurich and looking around at every single building, external shutters and shades, closing, blocking off the sun. Every single building, everywhere you look. And it's, you know, solar heat gain accounts for 80 to 90% of the cooling loads in the summer in most buildings.
Not only in Switzerland.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Not only in Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
Then they turn on the lights? They turn on the lights then?
Well, no, they actually, what they do is, if you look at the shades that they're using, they're actually shutters, and they're electronically, most of them. They come down and they open and close, so they're slat shutters, so you can still see out, but the sun is blocked completely from coming in. In some cases, they just have shutters and they close off, or they may come down and leave a little bit, but yeah, in some cases, I think the older ones were just look a lot like hurricane shutters. And yeah, you had to turn lights on, which kind of defeats the purpose when you turn lights on. Excuse me?
From the bottom up?
No, they roll in at the top and come down.
That's a better way than using awnings with louver slats in it.
Well, I mean, anything that blocks the sun from coming in is going to be effective. So, but it's a lot more, you know, awnings and so forth aren't always practical, or depending on what they're made out of, maintenance-wise and everything else. Whereas these shutters are aluminum, most of them.
And east and west orientations are not
Yeah.
going to do too well with
Right.
awnings, no matter how well
Yeah,
you position them.
yeah. Big thing is you can use these systems with any kind of building. This is a retrofitted building, a stick frame building, a concrete construction. This is our office building at Zehnder headquarters. This is a 9,000 square foot, 3-level, rather expensive house in Switzerland, and an apartment building.